Carrie here from the Female Entrepreneur Association, and welcome to the 10-Minute Masterclass, your weekly dose of inspiration to build a successful business. So obviously as entrepreneurs, we live in this little online world most of the time where there are a lot of people out there sharing lots of different opinions and business strategies and solutions for building a successful business, which is, in some ways, it's absolutely amazing because it's allowed us all to learn so much information and build successful businesses. But on the other hand, it can cause lots of conflict because one person says you're doing one thing, another person says you're doing another thing, and it's just like, oh my goodness, it's overwhelming, and you just end up feeling so frazzled and confused. So the key to kind of overcome this situation is to really figure out what your strengths are, and that is what we're going to be talking about in this session with the amazing Racheal Cook, founder of rachealcook.com. She's going to be sharing some wonderful things, so you are going to love this session. Racheal, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me back, Carrie. I always love helping out the Female Entrepreneur Association.
I know, I'm so excited that you are back. So obviously the last time you came, you shared some amazing stuff, so I'll leave the link to the last video we did below this video on the blog post so people can check it out because it was so good. But I'm excited to talk about this because I do feel I have so many conversations with people, and I even feel it myself. You hear so many different people telling you so many different things, and it pulls you in a million different directions. And quite frankly, as entrepreneurs, I feel like we already have the problem of having too many ideas as it is. So when you have all these different people throwing different solutions at you and different strategies, it just becomes too much. And I think a lot of people end up like drowning in it all. So I'm really excited to talk to you about this. So let's just jump straight in. Like, what can people do to avoid the overwhelm and confusion when they get given so many different pieces of advice?
Awesome. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, and it really comes down to three big things that I want everyone to consider when you're taking in all this information, especially for people who are maybe newer entrepreneurs or who are going through a big transition in your business, like you're taking your business online or you're growing a lot, so you're trying lots of things. The first thing, like Carrie alluded to already, was know your strengths. And if you're not sure what your strengths are, there's a few different ways you can find out, and I'll share them with you in just a second. But the biggest reason why you want to focus on your strengths and not your weaknesses, most people think that you need to be well-rounded or that you should work to become better in the areas that you're not that great at. But the truth is, when you work on your weaknesses, you can only a little teeny bit increase how good you are at that. But if you focus on your strengths, you can exponentially increase how good you are at something. So if you're already a really great public speaker and people tell you all the time, like, wow, you were able to just stand up and speak and it seems so effortless for you. Imagine what would happen if you went out there and learned more about public speaking. Your skill set would grow dramatically and you would easily become one of the best people out there doing that kind of thing. So knowing your strengths is incredibly important as an entrepreneur because it's what gives you that edge. It's what gives you that distinction from other people doing similar work. So like I said, if you're not sure what your strengths are, there's two different approaches that I tend to recommend to my students. The first is to just start asking people what your strengths are. So I have a lot of my students who are going through my business design program actually send out emails to former clients, to business besties, to colleagues, and ask them, hey, if you were to describe me, what are some of my best strengths? What do I bring to the table that no one else does? And it can feel really scary and vulnerable to ask that kind of question. But what tends to happen is I hear back from these students and they're saying, oh my gosh, Racheal, I got the most incredible emails. I was just so excited and crying and so grateful for these amazing people who think I'm so great. So it's an amazing way to get an insight from other people what your strengths are. And that's really important because we often overlook our greatest strengths. They are not as obvious to us because they come easy to us, but we want to capitalize on what comes easy so that we can really make it work for us. The other approach is to do some assessments, and my favorite one would be the Strengths Finder. You can find it online at, I believe it's just strengthsfinder.com. It's by the Gallup organization. It's a very intense test, and it's about 180 questions, but they have done the research. And I hear over and over again from people, because I run all of my students through that test, that when they take that, they're just amazed how accurate it is, when it tells them, okay, you are really strong at learning and absorbing lots of information and then distilling it down, or when it tells them you're a really powerful leader and you have the ability to command a room and have people's attention on you. So understanding your strengths, just knowing that about yourself and having a really clear picture of what you do best, not necessarily your personality, but what you do best, is huge in helping you understand what approaches to your business is going to work best for you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's something, like you said, like often we don't realize and recognize our own strengths, because it's like that classic thing of thinking everyone knows the same thing that you know because it's easy to you. So and I do it all the time and overlook things, and I think it's really great to take a step back. I've done that strengths test as well, and it's really interesting because you realize so much about yourself that you didn't know before, or that you kind of knew, but it was kind of it was more like unconscious knowing, and then you can really play to the strengths. I think that's such a clever thing to do, and something I think entrepreneurs struggle with, because I tend to think that we sometimes make it a bit hard for ourselves when we don't need to. So I love that one.
And that's one of the most important things I found, is that I can help people really take off and get momentum if they're in their zone of genius, if they're doing what they do best, and then fill in the gaps with team members or colleagues or people who pick up where they're not that great. Because that's the best way. If you're a solopreneur or somebody with a very small team, you just don't have time to be playing with stuff you're not that great at. You really have to spend your time and energy where you can deliver the highest value. So that's really what it comes down to. So the next thing that is really important for entrepreneurs, like Carrie said, we are idea generating machines. We love nothing more than looking out and seeing what everyone else is doing, checking out the latest way to launch something or the latest social media platform. We just love all the things, right? But the challenge is, when you're always looking at what everyone else is doing, it can start to cause some internal confusion, and you start to get this kind of FOMO, this fear of missing out. If I don't do this, I'm missing out on something. And it's really important to keep your eyes on your own paper. So this is something I tell my students all the time, because we are always looking outside of ourselves to see what works. But the truth is, if we know our strengths and we know what things fall under our strengths, what marketing strategies, what business strategies fall under our strengths, if we can stay focused on them and stop comparing ourselves to everybody else, we can get much greater traction. We don't get pulled off in a million directions chasing after more and more shiny objects. I find this is really important, especially if you're in a growth period of your business or you're really trying to achieve an objective. And what I tell my students to do quite often to help them keep their eyes on their own paper is to delete the Facebook app on their phone. I know, it sounds so scary, right? Delete it off your phone, because if you're constantly checking what everybody else is doing, you're not going to get through that launch or any major thing you're trying to do. And also, set aside all your email newsletters. So either filter them into a new folder in your inbox, or maybe use something like Unroll Me, so that you're not getting bombarded by different people's newsletters. It's so important when you're going through a really intense period where you don't really need more education, you just need to implement your own work, that you turn off the education so that you don't get pulled off course.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. And I signed up for Enroll Me, and was really horrified to find out that I had like 350 subscriptions or something, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. They keep telling me, you have more, do you want to like put them to one side or whatever? I don't even look at them anymore, and I feel like I went through that cleansing process of just, there was too much going on in my inbox, and I was seeing too many things from too many different people, and like even to the extent of buying things I didn't even really need, just because they were so good at selling them to me. And it's just like, I think it's so easy to get caught up in it all, and then to have that thing of either thinking that you should be doing things that everyone else is doing, like Periscope or whatever, like. And that for me was like that fear of missing out, thing. Oh my gosh, Periscope is new, I should be doing Periscope. But I was just like, well, got so many other things going on now. Am I really going to dilute what I'm doing to focus on what my Periscope strategy is? So I agree, and sometimes it's better just to take a step back and clear the clutter and focus on not trying to do it all, and not trying to and get rid of the fear of missing out from what's going on outside.
And the funny thing is, the more I talk to other successful entrepreneurs who are running much bigger businesses than mine, who are, running 7-figure businesses, is that they are really careful about what information they allow into their world, and they go on very strict information diets, and that's why. They know that they have a strategy and they need to implement it, and if they start tweaking it or changing it up too much because of outside influence, it's not going to work as well for them. It's going to pull them off course. So it's something that
Yeah.
people from more advanced business owners is they just really limit what's coming in, and instead of doing just in case learning where you're always grabbing stuff because you're afraid that you're going to miss out on something, focus on just in time learning. And that's when you have a specific skill set or thing that you need to accomplish in your business. So let's say you're getting ready for a launch and you know you need Facebook ads. That's when you go look for who's the person with Facebook ads that I can take this training. Oh, Carrie has a bundle on this, so now I'm going to go check it out, as opposed to I'm going to just hoard all the information in case I need it. That little shift will help keep you really focused so you can stay in implementation mode. It's so important.
Yeah. And I think there's something really key you said there as well, that it really can take you off track if you are so focused on all the information that is coming at you from all different people. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have gone off track because you've seen something, and people are so good at sharing what they do and what they love and what they're passionate about, and it really sucks you in. And I have found it to be, even, I'm sure other people might relate to this, even the feeling of seeing what someone else is doing and then it almost making you feel bad about what you're doing, which is bad, it's detrimental in itself, because then that knock of confidence on or like that shift in mindset from going along focusing on the great stuff you're doing to all of a sudden comparing yourself to someone else and what they're doing, it's just so detrimental in business. And like, that's one of the reasons why I was just like, I need to stop doing this and just focus on being the best I can be at what I'm doing and what my mission is, rather than getting carried away in everyone else's stories. But so I love everything you said.
Yes, and that kind of leads us to the last thing, which will tie us all up, and that is to double down on what works. So what I tend to see, and Carrie, I'm sure you see this too, is that people land on a strategy that seems to work for them. They have amazing results. So maybe they did their first webinar and they were so excited, it built their list, they sold some of their offerings, and they were like, this was great. But instead of getting better at webinars and doing more webinars, they start to go out there and say, well, I'm going to launch a 3-part video series, or I'm going to create a challenge, or they go off and do something else instead of taking what had already worked and rinsing and repeating it. This, I think, is so huge, because when we do something for the first time, even if you did it great the first time, there's still so much more upside for you. It's telling you, if you had a good result the first time, this is probably in your skill set. This is probably in your strengths, and you should really focus on making it better. Learn how to make it better, because unlike others who keep jumping from idea to idea to idea, if you really drill in deep here, you'll start to see a huge, huge upside in your business.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with what you said. It's literally a case of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Like, when I look back at everything with the Female Entrepreneur Association, I chose Facebook and Facebook ads, and that was it. I didn't do anything on Twitter, I didn't do anything on anything else, I just focused on Facebook. And rinse and repeat, just growing it. And that has probably been one of the biggest reasons why it has become as big as it has become. And so that's why I always tell people, and I always take, when I'm talking to people about this, take a look around at the people that have like a really big audience, and you'll notice that you know them for doing one thing really well, whether it's webinars, or whether it's the fact that they're really good at going into Facebook groups and making relationships and getting known in Facebook groups, or whether it's that they do a podcast. And it's just, you know, and that, then you take a step back and think, oh yes, they are so good, and they've become so well known because they focus on doing one thing really great. So I just think that's just such good advice, and hopefully people will take that on board and realize that they don't need to be like doing everything, because then you become the jack of all trades and master of none, which is not what we want.
Yes.
You need to master.
I am not a fan of the do everything, be everywhere strategy. I'm much more a fan of the do less and do it really, really well, because that's what delivers results in your business. And the final piece to kind of tie into the double down on what works is just remember that everybody you follow who, like Carrie just said, they have a signature thing they're doing on a regular basis and it shows up like clockwork. Take some time and just to reassure yourself, go back in their archives. listen to their first few podcasts, watch their first few videos. You will see how much they have learned and grown and how much better they've gotten because they doubled down on what worked. And you'll see that that's what's required. You have to put in that time to really master it and to really become great at it in order to see the results that you want. But if you're jumping from strategy to strategy to strategy, you're just starting all over again. You're recreating the wheel each time.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Don't do it. Don't do it, anyone.
Don't do it.
Thank you so much for coming to share that with us. You're so amazing. I always love your tips. It's so good. So thank you so much. And I know you have a quiz as well that we're going to be sharing in the blog post. The quiz relates to all of this, doesn't it?
Yes, I have been inside of my own programs with my students working on helping people develop their business around their strength, and I call it Your Business Sweet Spot. So we have a brand new quiz that I'm excited to relaunch right now, and it's called Discover Your Business Sweet Spot. Well, you'll discover the kind of business sweet spot archetype that you fall under so you can understand what your best strengths are in terms of your business offerings and your marketing and just how to position yourself in your business to make it a little bit easier and less complicated.
I love that. We'll leave a link to that on the blog post below this video, so definitely check it out. And also I want to set everyone a challenge to take action on the first tip that Racheal shared, where you're going to figure out what your strengths are. So maybe do what she suggested and ask people what they consider your strengths to be. And then once you've done that, head back to the blog and leave a comment and share what your strengths are with us so we can all see and tell us about it, because it'll be really interesting to know. But I really hope you've enjoyed this masterclass. I really hope it helps you. And I will see you next week for another 10-minute masterclass.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch one of our videos. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I've got something really exciting that I would love to send your way. We have created the Make It Happen guided visualization for you to listen to every single day for the next 30 days to help you to condition yourself to make incredible things happen. And along with that, we have the Make It Happen workbook to help you to get really clear on your goals, to get so much focus and clarity, to make a plan of action so you know what you need to do and when you need to do it. So if you would love us to send them your way, then all you need to do is subscribe to the email list below and they will be on their way to you. So definitely do that and come and join an incredible group of women who are so passionate and determined to achieve amazing things and build successful businesses. And I will see you next week for another 10-minute masterclass.